Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing another character file review, this time of Sid from Last of the Summer Wine. Now Sid was played by John Comer, I believe that's how you say his name, and he was on the show from 1973 all the way to 1983. And Sid as a character, it was a really great character. I do like him, his chemistry with him and Ivy. I really like how they bicker with each other. They was having rows, smashing plates, pots and pans, all that sort of stuff. Normally at the start of episodes when the trio go in the cafe, and Sid sort of just wants to get away. He wants to, do what he wants to do with Combo, Clegg and Foggy or whoever. He just wants to go away with them and have a great time. But he's hindered by the fact that he has to stay and do all the work. Work in the cafe and do all that. Sid has a really nice friendship with Wally Batty, and I think that's really great. In some episodes, some of the Christmas episodes, it's just them two, and they go around together. And they just have a great friendship, and I think that's really good. But Sid as a character was really brilliant. I liked when he would interact with the trio. There's an episode, I think it's in series 2, maybe series 1 actually, where they're all like sat around and Clegg says, "We're going to do a competition who can fit the bun in the quickest in their mouth," and then like whoever gets the bun in the quickest then gets Norman Clegg's a spoon award basically, and then they all try and stuff the thing in their mouth, and then Ivy comes in and just completely stops them from doing any of that, which I find quite funny, and I just think Sid was a great character. Now Sid in the program was succeeded by Crusher, who took over that sort of role that he played, doing the bickering with Ivy and stuff like that. But him and Ivy, they were so suited to each other because they were so similar but so different in other ways as well. Which I really like their dynamic. Now, unfortunately, Sid wasn't in the programme as long as I reckon he was meant to be. That's why he was quickly replaced with Crusher. Because unfortunately, the actor John Comer, he passed away, and unfortunately, they wanted to continue, I believe, with that character. But then they replaced him with Crusher, who kind of played a similar sort of role anyway. But yeah, so his last appearance was in the TV movie, I think that's what you'd call it, which was Getting Sam Home, which was the feature-length Last Summer Wine Christmas special of 1983, I believe. And unfortunately, I think this is where the actor who played Sid, John Comer, wasn't very well, so he had to be dubbed in some of the final scenes of the episode, and he was replaced with, for the audio recordings of the voice and stuff, of his voice, with a guy called Tony Melody or Tony Medley. I don't know how you say the guy's name, but he was dubbed basically for that last episode in certain areas in the episode. I'm not sure whereabouts. I think it was towards the end of the story. But yeah, because there's scenes in that Getting Sam Home where they have to hide Sam's body in their chip van, and I mean, just mental stuff really. But Sid, the way I talked about earlier, with his relationship with Wally Batty, I always thought that it was really great because there's an episode where where the trio spot Wally Batty and Sid, and they go into the woods and they're holding a bedding roll, and turns out as we go through the thing, Ivy and Nora Batty think they're having affairs and all this sort of stuff, and that's really not the case. Because Complicating Foggy, they go down to the woods, they find Wally and they find Sid, and turns out they're dressed up as cowboys, and turns out they just want to do like country singing or something. I don't know. It was a pretty mad episode anyway. And at the end of the episode, I believe Complicating Foggy dressed up as like Native American people as well. So it was what a random episode anyway. There's quite a few episodes like that, and I really do like how Sid and Wally, they would really like to just sort of get away from their wives, and they would want to go and hang around with Combo, Clegg and Foggy and whoever. They want to be part of that. Whereas sometimes they have to be with their wives and stuff, away from the fun that they would rather do. And I think that's kind of interesting that both of those characters have parallels. Obviously, they're quite different characters. Wally's more grumpy, I would say, than Sid is, but Sid's very argumentative, and he always says, he would always say to Compo, "I'd be happy if you had an affair with my wife," sort of thing. It's just a bit random as well, but I really like the dynamic of Sid. Him and Ivy, I mean, as really great. And there's also an episode, I think the second or third episode of series 1, where they go to like this event thing in the town hall, and there's like a meal and dance and all that sort of stuff, and Compo Clegg and not Foggy, Combo Clegg and Blamemeyer, they want to go in and have all the food and stuff, but Sid keeps on like sneaking off, and he keeps on coming back, and just like giving them food and so on and stuff like that. And I thought that was really great. And she keeps asking, "Oh, is there trouble with you? He wouldn't go to the toilet," but he's actually just sneaking off all the time to give them food and hang around with them. Sid appeared in a total of 47 episodes between 1973 and 1983. So quite a lot of episodes of Last of the Summer Wine, not as much as you can compare it to other characters, because I know the person who appeared in the most amount of episodes of Last of the Wine was Norman Clegg, played by Peter Sallis, and followed by that, I believe it was Ivy, appearing in over 200 episodes. So Sid doesn't actually appear in that many episodes in the grand scheme of things. I mean, he appears in more than some of the members of the trio do, like the Third Men and stuff like that, with Blamemeyer only being in about 14 episodes, I believe. So he does appear in quite a lot of episodes, you think about it, in about a total of 8 series, I believe. Yeah, so series 1 to 8 he was in, I believe. Could be wrong on that. Maybe it's series 7. But yeah, he's in quite a few series anyway, over the span of 10 years. And it's amazing that, Lost in Wine lasted this long. I mean, how many series do you know that have, 10 series or more, you know what I mean? Which is incredible in itself that it got to 31. Some people say 32. It depends on where you're reading anyway. But yeah, it's just great that his character lasted that long. And I think that it was really great the way his character, like Ivy, right? It provides something else with Ivy. I feel like Ivy by herself, where she's just sort of bickering just at them. They were sort of, she could have a go at him and blame him for, the customers and stuff like that. Whereas Sid sort of, liked the customers, and he, sort of liked, taking the mick out of random people. Compo, he sort of likes sometimes, and stuff like that. And I really liked, how he would take the mick out of certain characters, like he'd take the mick out of Foggy all the time and stuff like that. And I just thought he was a really great character. And he was a good friend of both of them. And something that I have a mystery about. What is Sid's surname? Now, this is a thing that has been a mystery in Last of the Summer Wine for a long time anyway. What was Sid and Ivy's surname? We don't know. It was never confirmed by Roy Clark. Maybe it will be one day, but I doubt it now with the series being over in 2010. But yeah, I sort of wondered, what are Sid and Ivy's surname? Because I think even the police officers have surnames, and they're characters that aren't as big as Sid and Ivy. But something else I do question about is why is Sid, missing from certain things, such as the prequel First of the Summer Wine. I mean, it's sort of based on that, there would be friends before that. So I don't know. It's a bit of an odd thing anyway, but yeah, I think Sid was just a solid character. There's episodes where I believe they do like a thing and they go on the back of a pirate ship, really random, like a blow up pirate ship thing, and Combo Clegg and Foggy are on the back, and then Sid's there as well. I think the whole thing gets wrecked and they like fall off and stuff like that, which is always quite funny. Another thing that I find odd about Sid as a character is that he just disappears, right? They don't really address the fact that he's dead or he's gone. He just sort of disappears. But in later on in the series, it's the same as Wally really. Later on in the series, they sort of mention that Sid is basically dead or gone. Well, he died anyway. Because in the episode where Compo gets the funeral and the buried and all of that sort of stuff, Ivy looks at a photo of Sid, and Nora Batty looks at a photo of Wally. So they do address it, but they don't really, say that they've died. It's a bit of an odd one, really. Like, we know the audience that that character is no longer on the program, but they don't address it, which I always find very odd. Same with some of the other characters, like Billy Hardcastle just disappears and we never hear from him again. But in this way, Sid is still remembered because we see him from photographs and stuff like that in future episodes. But it's just a bit of an odd one that he just sort of vanishes like that, and then the next episode, bam, Crusher's there and he's in his place, basically. So yeah, it is kind of just a bit random anyway. But as I mentioned earlier, Sid and Ivy don't have a surname, and I always find that very odd because even Howard and Pearl have a surname, and they're barely ever mentioned. So I don't know what that's all about. But yeah. But Sid does appear in the very first episode of Last of the Summer Wine, just like opening the cafe and stuff like that. There's also an episode where they go up and Sid has like a club using the using like the spare room upstairs in their cafe, and they sort of rent that out to various other things as well. There's also a nice episode where the characters of Lost and Wine go on holiday. They go on holiday to Scarborough. I believe it's Scarborough. Yeah, Scarborough. And they go on holiday, and Sid and Ivy are sat there on the beach, and they're reading a thing. And Ivy puts on this posh voice saying, you know, oh yes, and that sort of thing, like a real posh voice, rather. And Sid's like, oh, what are you doing that for? And Sid's trying to sort of get away. He's like, I'm on holiday, but I'd rather be with you guys. And I find that funny that he always wants to get away from, you know, his wife, and he just wants to be with the guys, you know what I mean? Which we never, you know, a few times we get to see him, you know, go away with them, you know, muck around. Sometimes at the Christmas special we saw them together as well, and a few things. But yeah, and I do like how, you know, they go into the cafe and they do this daft thing. There's an episode where they look at each other's knees, really random. Can't remember why that is. It's a guy called Stuart or something. Stuart, he's got like a dodgy knee or something, and then Sid gets out his knee, and then they all get out their knees. It's some of the most randomest stuff ever goes on in that cafe. And I always like it when Ivy walks in, she's, oh, what the blood and stomach pills, and then suddenly, you know, it leads to something else. Sid gets in trouble, he gets something thrown at him like a pot or a pan, you know, he's always on the, you know, receiving end of something bad that he's done. That he think, you know, she thinks he's done something wrong. She accuses him of having affairs with people when he hasn't, and random, just absolute random stuff. But I think Sid does stand out. That it's a shame that we didn't get to see any more of Sid, because I think Sid was a great character. I mean, I do like, you know, the character that came after Crusher. He was a really nice guy. Jonathan Lindsay, I've met him, really great bloke. But Sid as a character, I thought was really good. And it's a shame that, you know, unfortunately he passed away and they didn't make any more episodes with him. But yeah, Sid was just there, and I, as I said earlier, the chemistry between him and Ivy was really great, and they felt like an old married couple. They just sort of, you know, flew together really nicely, and the way their characters both were was just engaging and really enjoyable, really. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a video soon. But yeah, that's been my review of Sid. Now, Sid, I enjoyed the character. He appears in 47 episodes of Lost and Wine. There's loads of stuff, but he only really appears with Combo Clegg and Foggy and Blaine Meyer. So he's only in sort of the earlier series, you know, of that. But yeah, he does a great job. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. And bye for now. See ya.